With the couple of days before Kafka comes out, I do want to make an opinion about her and her usability, something that I think came up in my mind during the stream that I had before, and you might see some gameplay from Memory of Chaos in the background just to fill it up. But for the most part, today's video is going to be about Kafka, and as you see from the title, as you see from the thumbnail, I do want to say that Kafka might be a must pull. Now, I am the last person that would advocate for certain people or certain accounts to pull for certain characters. I know some people value meta over, the character, or character over meta, or you just have certain characters that you like, you have certain playstyles that you want to use. But when it comes to Kafka, she is such in a unique spot when it comes to her kit, how she's used, what she's able to do when it comes to enabling a team. She just has a lot more in her kit than you think, and something that is going to be a big factor in what you're going to do with your account in the future, how useful she's going to be during the later parts of the game, what characters are going to come out in the future that she may work with. There's just a lot going for her right now, and I do want to talk about all of these different situations and different conditions when it comes to Kafka and her usability, and why she might be a must pull for almost every free-to-play account. Now, let's go ahead and start talking about some of the reasons, and I know this video already sounds very controversial when I say it's a must pull, but you got to hear me out in some of the reasons, because I do think these are very important to state. Now, for the first reason, I do want to say that when it comes to the harder forms of content, especially the ones that make you split up your team in two, this is very important, because not only are free-to-play players going to have less characters to be able to split the teams up, but when it comes to main carries like Blade, like Sela, like Jing Yuan, these characters usually use the same amount of characters or the same characters for their pools of their party. So characters like Ting Yun, Bronya, Pella, Asta, these are usually the same characters that you'll see on every main carry team, depending on what exactly they want more, more speed, more attack, more energy, all that type of different stuff. But for Kafka, her best teams uses characters that aren't really used on other teams. You have characters like Sampo, characters like are going to be coming out like Luca, Serval, all these other characters that have different things that don't really go with other teams is going to help you out a lot more when you're trying to diversify the list of characters that you have, being able to use in Memory of Chaos. Now, when there's a certain character or a certain enemy that you have to fight which has a different weakness, well, you can just put that main carry on that team and have the support characters ready for that team. You don't have to worry about splitting certain ones into the other team or seeing if you have space to be able to put one on the other. You just have a set amount of characters that are already ready for one side of the Memory of Chaos, and then Kafka has her own teammates that don't really go with anyone else, and she's able to use those teammates and to be able to beat the Memory of Chaos as well. So being able to have Kafka on your account really does limit the amount of characters that you really need to get in the future when it comes to supports, debuffers. These type of characters aren't going to be useful on Kafka's team, which you only have to worry about being used on the main carry team. So overall, if you do get Kafka, and a lot of her best teammates are going to be 4-stars, which are currently out right now, of course in the future, that's where I'm going to get into my next point, there's going to be characters that are for sure going to be a part of Kafka's team that are going to come out, and they're going to be super very strong, replacing the 4-star counterparts. But the 4-star counterparts are going to be the cheaper alternative, which, like I said before, is going to be a lot easier in being able to split those characters from Kafka's team and having other characters being used for the other side of Memory of Chaos, with your other hyper carry. Now, for the point that I was already talking about, is that yes, the 5-star characters that are coming out in the future, there's definitely going to be more dot oriented characters, and guess who's going to be needed when it comes to being able to have a dot oriented character on a dot team, which is going to be the re-trigger character, which is going to be Kafka. Now Kafka, with her being able to re-trigger dots, that means any character in the future that does dots, that's able to apply dots, well, that means they're going to need Kafka for sure. And say it's a character that you really like the design, or you really like them in the story, or you really like them in the personality wise for their character, you might not have Kafka and you won't be able to use them to their full potential. You're gonna have to wait for the end of the turn for the dot to actually proc or something like that. That's just something you don't want to end up having. Not having Kafka on your account is probably going to limit you in the choices you have when it comes to being able to get a dot character on your team or a dot character on your account, because if you don't have the enabler for the team, it's kind of no point of having the dot character in the first place. So not getting Kafka is not only going to hurt you when it comes to getting characters in the future, but it is going to limit the amount of characters that you are going to possibly want, just because if you don't have the enabler, if you don't have the trigger, you're not going to really need to have the dot character. So it's kind of a pick and choose. If you know 100%, no matter what, even if you like the character, that you don't want a dot playstyle, then it would make sense to skip Kafka. But for the most part, you never know what's going to come out. You never know what's going to be so strong, like when it comes to it being a different type of character, whether it be maybe a tank or a healer that can also trigger dodge or something like that. There's a lot of possibilities that can happen. There's a lot of characters that could come out with really cool designs that you might want, and if you don't have Kafka, you won't be able to use them. So those are a couple of reasons that I already say that Kafka is definitely going to be someone you might want to look at. And one thing I do want to say about Kafka, for when it comes to people thinking about investment wise, how long will she be able to stay in current meta? How long will she stay relevant? Well, I'm just going to go ahead and tell you this. Kafka has a lot to her kit, and I mean a lot. And with her having so much to her kit, it's kind of hard to be replaced with how much she actually does. Now, she can have other characters that match her, but they won't be doing the same thing as Kafka, nor will they be able to compare to Kafka at a higher level just because of how much she actually does. Because through her ultimate and through her follow-up attack, she's able to add her own dot, which is going to be shock. So this is going to help anybody no matter what. Even if there's another character that's going to be able to re-trigger dots, she's still able to add dots very frequently. And not only that, through her skill and through her ultimate, she's also able to re-trigger. So there's not only you being able to do damage in the form of adding a bunch of shock through her follow-up and her ultimate, but she's also able to trigger on her skill and her ultimate. So with that being said, if you have another character, say they come out with another re-trigger for a dots, which would be really crazy in all honesty, even if they do have re-trigger, they're going to be for a different element for sure, because they're not going to just put out another re-trigger with lightning, because if that's the case, there would need to be a character that not only has dots on multiple different actions, well, preferably all of them at this point, because Kafka already has them on 2, which only leaving out the basic attack and the skill. You're going to need to have almost all your actions do lightning dot. You're gonna have to have the re-trigger on more than 2 actions as well. And not only that, you're gonna have to be the lightning element already. So that's a bunch of different conditions and a bunch of different barriers that are going to have to be met and be able to be exceeded to be to the point where Kafka is going to get replaced. So as you see already, Kafka's in a really good spot, because not only is she able to enable future characters in the future, she's able to help you with not really needing to build more of support characters, and you can really stay on the niche side of what characters she can actually use for her team. She is also going to be a really good investment, because there's just so much that a character has to do to be able to replace Kafka. I do think over time she's probably going to be one of the longer running characters, or the longer lasting characters in life space or shelf space when it comes to a team, just because she already has so much. She enables a team, and even if another re-trigger character happens, well, that just means you'll probably be able to re-trigger multiple dots multiple times on multiple different units, because there's just too much for Kafka to be pushed out when it comes to being another lightning unit, because they would literally have to do everything with every action, and that's way too busted. Now, one thing I do want to make a small note of really quickly is that some people say, now this is something that could be far left field for Hoyoverse to bring to the game, but something that could happen, and this has happened in another game, and some people say, what if they make a character that doesn't get hit with dots, right? Or what if they make a character that can only get hit with dots? Now, for people saying that that will not happen, or why would Hoyoverse do that? Well, they clearly haven't played Honkai Impact 3rd, because in Honkai Impact 3rd, there's literally bosses that you can only hurt with dots, and there's bosses which you can't hurt them at all with dots. You pretty much have to use main damage. There is a possibility of this happening, and with that being said, if you need a character that has to do dots, well, you have Kafka to re-trigger. Now, that's not saying, but what if you don't have Kafka? You're just going to say basically F you to everyone else that doesn't have her? Well, no, because you have Shield Break that can inflict those dots like Burn, like Bleed, Wind Shear, and Shock. Those all come from Shield Break. So technically you could be able to do that in the future if that ends up coming. But yes, it is a possibility. It's not like it's 100% chance that no, that's not going to happen. They're not going to bring a character that is 100% resistant to dot. They're not going to bring a character that can only get hurt with dot, because literally in Honkai Impact 3rd, it's not like this was a long time ago. Very recently, they added characters that are only able to be hurt by dots, that are only able to not be hurt by dots. So yeah, that is a possibility. You never know what could come out of Hoyoverse, especially with Honkai Star, with it being a very brand new game and being able to take inspiration from both Genshin Impact and Honkai Impact. So there is a lot to look around when it comes to looking at what Kafka can do, looking how long she can last. And with all the points said, I do think she's going to be a very well investment character for free-to-play players, for whale players, all players alike. You're just going to be able to use her. She's going to be long lasting. She's going to help a lot with your account, being able to give you more decisions that you can make for your account and giving you less of a chance of, messing up when you do have her on your account. Last thing I say before I end this video, I know I said already that she's kind of a must summon, and I don't really like making these type of videos where I'm trying to force you to summon on them. If you really don't want Kafka, if you really don't like the dot playstyle, don't listen to me. Go ahead and skip it. Wait for whatever character you like. But for what I stated, these are just possibilities. These are conditions that will help Kafka in the future. But other than that, thank you guys so much for watching all the way to the end of the video. Tell me what you think about Kafka, because I know so many people are so ready to go ahead and summon for. Other than that, thank you guys so much for watching all the way to the end of the video. See you on the next one, and peace.